Welcome to The Dying Breed. I'm Caleb, and today we're doing the second part in a 4-part video series on shoeing a draft horse. So in this video, we're going to get the foot trimmed, we're going to build a shoe for it, and then we're going to shoe it and nail it up. So we had a couple of questions in the last video, and I'll address them right off the start. We had a question about traction with steel shoes compared to hoof on concrete or asphalt. Actually, barefoot has a little bit more traction than a steel shoe would. A lot of times what we'll do if a horse is going to be driving on a lot of asphalt, we'll put carbide pins or borium on the shoe. In this case, the horse isn't getting driven on a lot of concrete. It's mostly dirt, so we're not too worried about that. Second question we get almost every video is why we don't use a grinder. I have another video that will be coming out on doing a pony where I try to use a grinder and he's like, nope, I don't like it. Cows are in a chute where they're controlled and they don't have a choice whether they want a grinder used or not. These horses have to accept a grinder, and in a lot of cases, they just don't. So let's get into trimming this foot. You can see there's a lot of flare, not a lot of depth on this foot. Even though he's really long and overgrown, you can see that on the medial side, medial being the inside of the foot, we have that big kind of crack, and then we had that really nasty flare where the hoof wall was separating from the rest of the foot. The feet are super hard. It's midsummer at this point. We're just trying to peel out a little bit of that sole, the stuff that wants to come out, the rest of it we're going to leave. You don't necessarily want to rip out sole. It's kind of like a callus. This time of year, if it's hard and it wants to stay, you probably should leave it. If you rip it out, horse is probably going to be a little sore. In most horses, I will use my nippers in this case to gather the foot up. But this horse has a lot of hoof wall, and it's a little bit faster to use the nippers to get all that excess flare off. Another thing that's asked a lot is whether we're weakening the hoof wall. And we're not, because if you look, we look at the white line and we want an even hoof wall width all the way around the foot. That way we don't weaken it, we rasp to the mark we made, and then the hoof wall is the same thickness from about a third of the way from the hairline down. What I'm doing here is just cleaning out the bottom of the foot a little bit, just getting out a little bit more dead sole. I showed that part of the video. This is a big horse, and he didn't necessarily want to stand on the rocks. That's one of the things as farriers that we have to do, is to figure out if a horse isn't standing, is it because he's upset and he just doesn't want to do it, or is there another factor? And in this case, he was really not liking standing on the gravel. So I ended up moving him over to a concrete pad, which you'll see towards the end of this video. And he was a lot more comfortable on the concrete rather than the gravel and the sharp rocks. Some horses it doesn't bother. It was bothering him, and it just made him a little more comfortable and a lot easier to work on. We're going to clean out those commissures. It's important that we do that. We don't want any dirt or bacteria to get trapped underneath them. The frog is an impact absorption device. It helps dissipate the impact when this horse is moving. So when you see a big foot like this with a big frog, big foot, big horse, big frog. Frog helps absorb all that impact of this horse moving across the ground and hitting the ground. Believe it or not, these knives are actually really, really sharp. They're sharp enough to shave with. That's actually how we test whether they're sharp enough. We'll see if they will cut hair. Mostly on our arms. Probably not the safest thing, but that's how we test. Okay, you can see that mark from the bottom, and we're going to gather that foot up. I love these kind of feet because I think they're so cool. They've got so many colors. They look like some ancient horn or something. It's really cool. I love the color on some of these draft feet. And then you get them all cleaned up and polished and pretty, and I like that too. Again, we're just gathering up, getting rid of all the distortion in that foot. We want nice, straight horn, hoof wall horn. And you can see we're not rasping past that mark, we're rasping right to that mark. Trimming and shoeing a draft horse is like doing 5 regular horses. I had several people ask me about the price, what it costs to shoe a horse like this. It's about 4 times what I charge on a regular set of shoes. The differences in prices across the US for shoeing horses kind of vary on location, you know, your geographic location, and the kind of horses you're doing too. When you get into some of the higher end horses, you know, dressage, reining, things like that, they'll pay a little bit more. If you're just doing trail horses, sometimes they're a little less. Pads, all of that stuff contribute to the price. Some people charge for handmades. So in this case, we're making handmade shoes for this horse, and a lot of people will charge for that. I generally don't charge for handmades because I need to practice making handmades, so I don't charge for it. You have 2 sides to the rasp. You have the coarse side. This is the side that we use to remove a lot of material. And then you have the finished side, and this is a side that we use to remove less material, and it makes a better finish on the foot. Right there, I'm marking my center on the shoe. We offset this horse by 3/16, I believe. So we use the offset because there is more steel to cover the lateral side where the shoe needs to come out and around the coffin bone and follow that white line. This is bumping. I actually stood on a bucket here because this was 19 inches of steel, and to get up high enough where I could get a good swing on that piece of steel, I had to kind of get up and above it. Missed. I was getting tired. I'd done 1 shoe at this point, and I'm kind of out of shape. I need to build more shoes. Missed again. We've bumped a shoe for a couple of reasons. One, it gives us more steel in the toe, kind of a wear bar. It also gives us a savings account in case we need a little extra steel to forge in the toe. The other thing that bumping the toe does is when you make the toe bend and you kink that metal, it will get narrow on the outside of the toe. So you kink, it'll put more material into the inside of that shoe as you bend it and less material to the outside. By bumping that, we can then forge that material out and make a nice full toe. So I'm making the toe bend here. I'm trying to visualize the toe of that horse's foot, and I'm trying to match that. If you can get the toe right on a shoe, the rest of the shoe will be easy. The toe really does determine how well that shoe will fit. So there, that toe looks pretty good. Kind of looks like the toe of the horse's foot. I'm gonna open that up and straighten it a little bit. Draft horses have kind of a wedge-shaped foot, so it's kind of a narrow toe bend with really straight quarters and then kind of some hooky heels. That has a lot to do with their weight and how big they are and how much weight they're putting on their feet. Okay, I'm gonna put my heel checks in. The angle of my hammer is almost coming, it's not coming down, it's kind of coming back into the steel. I'm almost bumping the steel back into itself. One of the things that I've learned since this video is that I should start my heel checks in this position, not the other one. You can't get enough of a heel check on the outside. It's much harder to get an outside heel check than an inside heel check. Don't know why that is, but that is the way it is. Now we're gonna bend at the heel quarter and shape our heels. can start seeing the shoe take shape. Now we're going to do the other side. Now we're going to draw down. This is the medial branch. We're going to draw it down just a little bit, make it just a little thinner, sweeten it up a little bit, and put our heel check in it. You can see the sparks flying off that steel. I got that branch just a little too hot. Like, that's almost a weld heat. I almost burnt that shoe up. That will happen too. Like, if you leave your shoe in there too long, you'll just come back to a puddle of steel. Straighten the quarters. We kind of have a shoe. Still a little bit of shaping to be done. Okay, we're gonna mark our nail holes. So I'm using a T-square. Make sure my nail holes aren't racked. Racked meaning one nail hole is lower than the other. We don't want to do that. They kind of need to be straight across from each other. Those are the back nails. And then I make a center mark, and we'll split the difference because we're going to put 3 on one side and 4 on one side. So 4 on the outside, 3 on the inside. Nail holes, that is. You'll notice my anvil here. It's a 200-pound Austin Eaton Scott anvil on a WCB anvil stand. So the anvil stand's made out of metal, and then inside the anvil stand is sand. So there's a plate that the anvil sits on, and then underneath that plate is sand. So the stand is filled up with sand, and then the anvil weighs 200 pounds. So this whole setup weighs about 410 pounds. My calipers right there are marked at a 1/2 inch. So that gives me the center of the steel. And then I'm gonna mark just off of center with my drift punch. The reason we set our drift punch just off of center is as we drive it through at an angle, and we wanna come from just outside of center, and we want our hole to exit right at the center. If the hole on the hoof surface is just inside of center, it's coarse. If it's outside of center, it's fine. And you can see that I'm pitching my nails. I talked about this in the last video. We pitch the nails at the same angle as the hoof wall. Now we're gonna pritchel them. I use a lubrication made of olive oil, beeswax, and a little graphite to keep my tools from sticking when I'm doing this part. This is a head stamp. This just puts the head of the nail into the steel. I'm measuring the shoe to see if it lines up with the measurement we took of the widest point of the horse's hoof. So we want to measure the horse's foot, and then we add 1/8 of an inch. The idea is that from the widest point of the foot forward, it should be no more than a 1/16 inch of expansion. From the widest point back, it should be no more than 3/8 of an inch expansion. When we burn the shoe on, we're not just burning it on for show. We're actually checking to see if that fit is precise and if we have the proper fit. If we don't, then we go back to the anvil, adjust it a little more. So our initial burn isn't usually a hard burn. It's just a quick burn to see if we've shaped it correctly. So now what we're doing is we're drawing our clips. We did our source holes just like in the last video. And then now I'm hitting the base of the clip and I'm pushing metal up, and it comes up into a nice little triangle. And that is how we make a clip. I use vice grips to set my shoe when I'm burning them. Unfortunately, I didn't get any video of burning this shoe on, so we're just gonna nail the shoe on and finish it up. I had a question in the last video. People asked why I was using quarter clips instead of like a toe clip. Toe clips are far more common with draft shoes. It's really the way you kind of want to fit a draft foot is with a toe clip. Biggest problem is that I didn't have really the right steel for this. I needed a little bit more steel, and then I did not have long enough nails, and so I added a clip for extra strength. Adding a clip just takes that much more shearing force off the nails. That's what clips do. They take the shearing force away from the nails. These are size 5 hybrids. I should be like 7s or 8s on this. I believe that the second time I shot them, I used E9s. These are E5s. They're a hybrid. These are plain stamp shoes. They don't have a crease in them. They just have a hole just for the nail. Using a Cody Gregory driving hammer. I got it last year and I absolutely love it. It's a great driving hammer and it hits like a heavy hammer, but it's actually not that heavy. You can see that medial flare is still there. So when we burn a shoe on and we get done with the burn and we set the foot down, when that heat actually makes the hoof wall kind of soft. So if they're on like rubber mats or even concrete, they can kind of chew their feet up. So a lot of times we'll take the flashing off with our rasp before we put the shoe on. Again, I didn't get that in this video, but that's what we do. So we're clinching. What we're going for is nice square little clinches. We don't want big long rectangles. We want nice tidy clinches. The idea is that your shoe should fit the foot before you nail it on. You should not be doing a bunch of rasping to make this shoe fit. Should be just a little bit of rasping, not a lot, if any. Just a little bit more finish work. And that should about do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. And there are 2 more videos coming out where we'll do the hind feet. And we'll catch you all next time.